In this review of the week's news, residents go without internet, a local group celebrate 25 years, and baking for a good cause. This is CTV News Week in Review. I'm Jared McCulloch. It was a frustrating day earlier this week for more than 300 residents and businesses in Taitapu when the town went without internet for 30 hours. Chorus and Spark managed to sort out the issue later on in the day, but the technical glitch proved just how much the town depends on the internet. At first glance, it looks as if everything is fine at this petrol station just out of Christchurch. Instead, it's a place full of frustrated workers. The broadband systems in the small village of Taitapu have been out since yesterday morning, and the staff members here have had enough. The outage came to Cade's attention on Sunday morning, when one of their staff members rang saying the internet's down, a vital tool in their workplace. He's been in contact with the telecommunications provider Chorus, but hasn't been informed about the problem.
As of yesterday, about 10 o'clock, is non-existent, and then it's all throughout today and nobody's been able to tell us what's going on.
He says they've had smaller scale outages before and says something needs to be done.
Basically, to get hold of your service provider, and then you ring the service provider, and then they have not a lot to say about it, or they can't tell you what's going on. They couldn't even tell us if there's a technician out here or not. Rang them last night, rang again this morning. We've probably made 6 or 7 phone calls, as well as other people too who have been talking about it, and yeah, they can't tell anything.
At the moment, the service station is getting a revamp, with the canopy coming down on Wednesday, but with all the work being done through email, it's proven difficult. And as customers are affected too, with some services unable to be used.
Like phone top-up machine, which we can't use, and we get quite a few people in each day getting top-ups and stuff. The other thing is emails. We can't access any emails, which we get loads and loads each day. We need to know, and with the construction that's going on, we need to know what's coming up, and there's been nothing.
But it's not just the petrol station. Just down the road, office staff at this preschool have had to relocate to another centre in Lincoln to complete their work, with the computers there saying no.
We've got all the children's details on the programmes, and we work solely from the computers, although we have backup copies, but it's so much easier to access them from the computer. And
it's not just the children's details, but all the systems to keep a business going.
We've got salaries that will have been disrupted. We have got teachers' non-contact times when they come off the floor and they do all their paperwork, so that we can't play catch-up there. And teachers' rosters and day sheets.
Chorus weren't available for an interview on camera, but said in a statement that they're working with Spark at the Taitapu Exchange to resolve the issue, and a short time ago they've confirmed all services are back up and running. So these type of problems could be a thing of the past, with good news on the way for the Selwyn area. Recently, there's been a number of complaints from residents made to Selwyn MP Amy Adams, who is also the Communications Minister, about the speed of the copper broadband system, saying it's too slow, with Chorus agreeing to go ahead with a project. But for Cade and Karen, they're just hoping to continue work without any more issues. Jared McCulloch, CTV News. A gala day kicked off this week to mark the start of this year's Metro Rugby competition. Gordon Finlater was there for the celebrations.
The 2015 Hawkins Cup kicked off on Saturday with a gala day at Christchurch Park. The gala saw all 12 teams in the competition playing at the one venue for the first time in the competition's history. Being the start of a new season, the Gala Day was a great opportunity for teams to see each other in action.
Well, it's very much just about having that platform where we can get all the teams together, looking after the teams, the clubs, but also importantly our sponsors. We've got Hawkins who have renewed their sponsorship for another 3 years for us, so it's about managing our relationships, but more importantly the players, they know each other, they get to play each other, but they actually don't get a chance to actually watch another senior game. So actually to have the games at 1:30 and 3:15 allows that integration, and look, we are finding that the feedback that we're getting from the clubs, from the coaches, but also from the players that we've spoken to as well, everyone's really excited because it's just puts everything in one place, it puts a real focus on the game, and as you look around here today, it's just a wonderful environment. There's a real atmosphere here, so it's really exciting.
The competition sees a range of age and skill levels competing, with players fresh out of secondary school and age group rugby right through to veteran rep players. One name that needs no introduction is All Black lock Dominic Bird, who after missing out on the Crusaders' trip to South Africa, was on club duties, turning out for his Lincoln University side.
At the end of the day, we all love to see the elite players and the professional players playing club rugby. The clubs like it, but the players like it. There's a really good anecdotal story a number of years ago where we had an All Black that was actually playing here at Christchurch, and there was a senior winger who had been in the senior team for 4 or 5 years, and he was just shown how to go into the break, how to fall, place the ball and make it available, and he couldn't believe that he'd been playing senior rugby that long and hadn't been given that advice. So it's those little insights of skill factors and experience that these guys can impart in an amateur environment, and club rugby benefits with that exposure.
The teams have been busy in preparation for Saturday's opening round, with pre-season games and last-minute club hopping all adding to the build-up.
Teams don't so much have trials these days, they have the pre-season matches, and that team comes out of that. So, with the end of pre-season matches last week, we saw a little bit of player movement in this last week, because if they haven't made the run-on squad or look like they're sitting on the cusp, then they are looking for those opportunities, because everyone thinks that they're a really good player, and we love to see them involved. So, if you haven't made it with one team, you are going to see if you can get a start in another senior team.
Saturday saw a repeat of last year's Hawkins Trophy final, with runners-up Sydenham getting an early shot at redemption against high school Old Boys.
It's not exactly an accident. We decided that was going to be our feature game. It was a wonderful way to end the season, so we thought, well, what better way to actually start the season? They had to meet at some point, so it stood in the first round. So that is their main game down here today, and who knows what will happen. I think there's a couple of changes, not so much within the team environment, but certainly at the coaching environment. We've got Brendan Nolan, who's come into town now, and so he's at Sydenham from over at Littleton. So it'd be interesting to see what sort of influence the new coaching has on the outcome.
It's been a long time coming, and this week the headquarters of the Christchurch's RSA was finally reopened after a significant rebuild. It's great timing too, marking 100 years of the RSA in New Zealand. Marcus Gibbs reports.
Christchurch's veterans marking new beginnings. Damaged in the earthquakes, the former RSA headquarters was demolished, only to be replaced with this new $6.5 million building.
It means so much that we can now say to our veterans, you've got a club, you can come back.
It couldn't have come at a better time. 2015 marks 100 years of the start of World War I and 100 years of New Zealand's first RSA, built on the same site by the very first wounded veterans to return home.
And 4 years and 1 month after the earthquake, when our old RSA was destroyed, we're opening our new home.
After a year of construction, the finished building is a grand memorial to the fallen.
I think it looks bloody great. You need to see it at night with the battles lit up and, everything backlit. It's a tremendous sight. 11
fins line the front. Together they carry a lot of meaning.
They represent the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month 1918, which was when the armistice was signed in World War I.
Plaques from memorials destroyed in the earthquakes also feature in the design.
And if you look at the columns, each one of them has got a name, a battle name, starting with Gallipoli. Through the columns to Lukanwaya down the far end, where New Zealanders perform's not the right word, but where New Zealanders fought and sacrificed their lives for freedom.
The body corporate of the apartment block across the road, which has only just begun construction, initially opposed the RSA's application for a liquor licence, as it was concerned about the amount of veterans who could be drinking until 1 a.m. The RSA has room for more than 420 people in the bar, restaurant and function room upstairs. An alcohol licensing public hearing was to be scheduled to discuss the matter. However, after negotiating with the RSA, the body corporate gave its blessing. This comes after the RSA agreed to close its bar at midnight 4 nights a week, from Monday to Wednesday and on Sundays. And finally today, the Governor-General was able to officially open the building for use, a special place for the veterans and the community to gather.
It's a living museum here. If you go inside the building, you'll see our history, you'll see the artefacts that we have, the memorabilia, and we can rotate that stuff. We've got a huge collection. For example, there's an officer's whistle where a bullet went through. There's just so much history in there that it's incredible.
This impressive building promising to be very popular with many Cantabrians in the years ahead. Marcus Gibbs, CTV News.
Still to come, organisation Trees in Canterbury turns 25.
Hi, I'm Chris Lynch. Join me every Monday at 8:30 on CTV as we discuss the issues affecting you, your family and everything to do with Canterbury. That's CTV 8:30 right here.
Computer not working? Replace or repair. DIY or get a technician. Looking for parts? Thinking of upgrading? Need accessories? You've got questions, we've got answers. Global PC.
The preparation, the devotion, the fearlessness, the intensity.
Runway model management. First impressions are everything.
Made to measure interiors, made with care, made for you.
Join Graham Sinclair and the team at Gone Fishing as they bring you great stories, fishing tips and beautiful scenery. Gone Fishing, Friday night at 8:30, right here on CTV.
They've planted 850,000 trees across Canterbury in the last 25 years, and this week Trees for Canterbury celebrated a quarter century of beautifying the region. Another milestone for this local community group, doing what they do best. This group of volunteers are hard at work preparing for the organisation ceremony, planting 10 kowhai trees at one of the entrances of the Charlesworth Reserve. Trees for Canterbury is celebrating its 25th birthday, providing native plants to the people of Canterbury through public sales at their nursery and donations from seasonal projects. And the manager says this celebration is rather exciting.
It's been a long road, so as part of our celebration we've invited people who have supported us from the business community, from places like the council, some of the ranger service that we've worked with for projects.
Steve has been working here since 1992 and says it's a great feeling seeing how far they've come from when they started on a shoestring budget.
Longest job I've ever had, really, but it's, you know, to me I've been able to watch the whole project grow. The buildings that we had, which were old recycled Toyota car cases and Hessian sacking used for shade cloth, to what we've got now in the nursery, which is real buildings made out of real materials. My boots don't rot off my feet anymore, but it has been exciting, you know.
When the organisation started, its aim was to employ, educate and regenerate their plants, providing knowledge and skills for their volunteers to take to their next workplace. And Steve says the helping hands of those who work for free are the lifeblood of the organisation.
Our chairperson was actually the guy that first got Trees for Canterbury going, so he's still with the project, you know. So trustees long term, but the people that come along, you know, it's been people who are intellectually, physically, socially disadvantaged. To watch these guys come along and grow, it's, you know, we do teach them some job skills, but part of it is a sense of self-worth or a sense of self-esteem, because you can't go and do anything if you haven't got that.
As of tomorrow, April 1st, the not-for-profit group would have planted and donated over 850,000 native plants to multiple schools and social organisations, and I'm not joking.
Well, to me, if you look at Canterbury, 2% of its original native bush left. You know, you have stories of 50 portable sawmills working on Banks Peninsula. At one time, and you just have to drive along the Summit Road from the Hilltop Tavern out towards O'Kane's Bay, and you see skeletons of big old tortoise trees. You know, it's just devastating.
He says they haven't moved from their Charlesworth Street base, continuing to operate after both the September 2010 and February 2011 earthquakes, but did encounter some other problems.
The effects on us after the earthquake was we continued to do our projects, but the funding, which is where from plant sales to the community or to the public, no one wanted to plant trees in their back garden if it was full of liquefaction or if their house was broken. So the first couple of years was really tough, but people have started to get back into the gardens, even if they're not in their houses yet. You know, gardens, they can move in and do something with it.
Around 150 people are set to turn up to the ceremony, and this won't be the last project here. They'll be back at the Charlesworth Reserve in May to put in more plants when their season starts again. Jared McCulloch, CTV News. We've all seen the dreadful power of what war drones can do, but can combat robots also be used for good? A leading professor was in Christchurch this week to highlight the latest trends with this technology. You may think of this when you hear of robots being used in war, but it's not. However, the discussion is far from being terminated. It's quite a controversial topic, with a professor from Atlanta in the United States coming to speak to Canterbury University students about the idea of using robots in battle, researching all areas of technology and how it impacts the world.
One of the goals of the work that I've been talking about is to try and reduce the casualties associated with non-combatants, which to many seems counterintuitive, but the goal is actually a humanitarian one. We are trying to use this technology to perform better than human warfighters could with respect to the application of lethal force.
The issue has made it to the United Nations to understand the matters surrounding the use of robots in this way through legal and technical perspectives. And a doctoral student says it has been on the UN's radar for some time, with New Zealand being part of the discussion.
There is a United Nations process called the Convention on Certain Conventional Weapons, and that's a treaty that New Zealand is a signatory to. And so New Zealand has to participate in the international debate and decide what is New Zealand's policy on lethality in robots.
The idea is robots would be used as a sidekick for soldiers. Being unable to use military weapons, it would not replace humans if a war was to happen. And Sean says robots could be the case here, with New Zealand taking a small-scale approach.
New Zealand may acquire some of these smaller items for its own defence forces to aid the SAS, like small drones, which are maybe the size of a hexcopter, which can be completely autonomous. It doesn't have to be a big, expensive Patriot billion-dollar system. As time goes on, like everything else in computing, the price will reduce, and even New Zealand will be able to buy, even a small country with a small budget will be able to buy some form of military robot.
He says there's a long way to go before seeing robots take to the battlefield, but he compares it to other types of technology, something we all carry around in our pocket.
Robots have been around in some form since World War II, but only one or two and a very niche and exotic. But as they become cheaper and cheaper, there will be more and more, and smaller, and cheaper and more affordable. So they'll become like mobile phones. You know, they used to be the size of a brick, and then they'll come down to, and you needed lots of money to buy one. In 10 years' time, robots will become so cheap that everybody and every army and navy and air force will be able to afford them.
But Sean says in the near future he would hope the robots could help reduce civilian casualties in battle.
I would hope that you would see a reduction in war, or that robots are doing more of the dying in war, or reducing the risks to innocent humans in war.
And he says the public shouldn't be worried.
They should be concerned. There are legitimate concerns about the safety of any automatic device that's got dynamite that blows up. But I don't think people should be scared witless, but they should definitely be aware of the issue and concerned. But it is being thoroughly discussed in diplomatic processes.
So as for the idea of Terminator, it's very far off yet.
But that requires a lot of technological research, and it will take time to get those robots where people trust them enough to put a gun in their hands.
The discussion will be back at the United Nations in the next few weeks. Jared McCulloch, CTV News. Well, still to come, baking for a good cause and 2 new bridges reopen.
Kids television is right here on CTV. Tune in every Saturday from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. for an exciting range of fantastic kids programming. Join in with all the fun, Saturday mornings from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. on CTV.
At Brighton Environmental, we specialise in all aspects of resource management, so you don't have to deal with the paperwork. With the skills and knowledge to organise any environmental work, we can guide you through the process from start to finish. From organising consents and farm environmental plans to pump and well testing, Brighton Environmental has it covered. Save time and remove the stress. See the specialist. Brighton Environmental. Computer not working? Replace or repair. DIY or get a technician. Looking for parts? Thinking of upgrading? Need accessories? You've got questions, we've got answers. Global PC.
Come on down to Ferrymead Golf. Care for a game of paintball? How about some swings on the old driving range? Or on our par 3 9-hole golf course? Test your skills on the mini golf course or have a go at the airgun shooting range. Then relax at the Wow Cafe with one of our super succulent Wow Burgers. Whether you want to perfect your swing or are looking for a fun family day out, come down to Ferrymead Golf, 50 Ferrymead Park Drive, right next to the Ferrymead Heritage Park.
Arts 21 showcases the vast creative talent and minds that are making a name for themselves in Europe and beyond. Think outside the square with Arts 21.
They found the money to build the new Performing Arts Centre, but organisers still need $500,000 to install equipment. So how are they doing it? Believe it or not, by baking cakes. Tasty treats for a good cause. This talented family duo have been busy baking up a storm, inspiring others through their new cookbook. But it's also helping a major project in the Christchurch CBD, with money from the book sales going towards a new music and arts centre. And the project's director says in this case, building and baking have come together.
We had concerts up at St Augustine's because our building was demolished, and we made a cup of tea and gave them a biscuit or a piece of slice or a cake, and people always ask for the recipes, and 4 years on we decided it was time to publish them and to raise some money for the new facility.
The development has been named the Piano, formerly known as the Music Centre of Christchurch, which was damaged in the earthquakes. Construction has started on the new $17.5 million building in the Performing Arts Precinct on Armour Street. The Trust, however, is hoping to raise $500,000 to go towards the fittings and equipment through sponsorships and their own cookbook, already reaching $120,000 in a few weeks.
So you can sponsor a seat for $500 and have your name on it for the life of the seat, and choose your seat. If you get in early enough, they are starting to go, or there are some people who've done bronze, silver, gold or major contributors.
But Bronwyn says there's a lot of things they are hoping to get from the fundraising effort, saying they're not cheap items.
We need music stands, we need chairs for the practice rooms and for there's some other rehearsal rooms we need a couple of hundred chairs for. We need audiovisual equipment, which is about $250,000. We need lights, so that we've got theatre lighting as well as concert lighting.
Both Bronwyn and Fiona have been baking for over 30 years, with the book being a family affair, taking 6 months to put together, with the idea of making it simple for other people to make treats in a number of different ways. The book has been titled Friday Treats, an easy pick for the two, following a tradition of baking together at the end of every week.
40 recipes, it's 40 weeks in the year that Fiona and I bake every Friday and take it up the hill for them to have a cup of tea. And it started with about 30 people, now there's about 150 who come every week.
This isn't the first time they've raised money through a cookbook. They helped generate $100,000 for the toy library a few decades ago. But for this cookbook, she says it was difficult to let everyone into their secret recipes.
Absolutely. They are special recipes and ones that we've collected over a lifetime, and sharing them is sharing of ourselves very, very, very much.
You may even recognise the sisters from the TV1 cooking show MasterChef, appearing in the last season together.
And we always said, I'd love to do the cooking show, My Kitchen Rules, because that would be something that we could do together, because whenever we got together we always cooked together, And then MasterChef came up where they were doing a duo. So we said, well, let's do that.
They didn't get far in the competition, but I thought I'd ask them to judge my baking from their cookbook. So here's something I've prepared earlier.
Good on you.
Well
hey,
done.
these are pretty good. Oh, that's good.
And you cut the chocolate by hand.
What would you give it on if it was MasterChef? What would you give?
I give it 10 out of 10.
So a perfect mark. The book is available on the Piano website, helping bring this project to life. Jared McCulloch, CTV News. New Brighton and South Shore residents celebrated this week following the recent opening of the new Ferrymead Bridge. The Bridge Street Bridge linking the eastern beaches to the rest of Christchurch also opened. Marcus Gibbs reports.
It's been more than 2.5 years in the making, but this crucial bridge is finally reopening after $18 million of repairs.
Officially reopened.
The bridge is an important lifeline for the coastal community, connecting New Brighton to the rest of the city.
All the structures are gone, it's a straight road again, you're not restricted, it's awesome.
For the first time since the project started, trucks were welcomed back onto the bridge. Until now, they've had to take the long route to South Brighton while the repairs were underway.
Another step towards the completion of the rebuild, which is great.
The Bridge Street Bridge was badly damaged in the earthquakes, but the extent wasn't known until after Skirt's Fulton Hogan team had started repairs.
The original concept was to try and reuse some of the existing piles which were down there, but when we got down there and we opened them up, the piles were destroyed.
Hiking under the bridge, I know, the abutments had fallen in.
The repairs took their toll on the residents. For 6 months, one side of the bridge was out of action and a diversion was in place. Then as the work ramped up, locals had to drive around giant abutments, massive temporary structures that helped to speed up the commute to and from work.
I know that I have felt quite scared at times because some of those turns were quite tight, so to come straight through, just fantastic.
These residents are thrilled they finally have their bridge back.
We got quite a hammering in the earthquake and it's just nice to see these major structures just back up and running.
First time in a long time that I've got to walk over here. Me and the children quite often come down to the estuary.
What's been described to me is that when people come back over this bridge into South New Brighton, it's the coming home.
Some of the smallest visitors this morning had never before had the chance to walk along the bridge.
It's fantastic just being able to get back across again. And my son was 10 weeks old when the earthquake took place and now he's 4, so it just goes to show how long it's been really without just having the normality of just crossing the bridge in this manner.
Because South Shore is a tsunami evacuation zone, the area has to have a swift and safe escape route for residents, the Bridge Street Bridge. A further celebration is planned once landscaping is complete, and for now these residents just want to enjoy their new bridge. Marcus Gibbs, CTV News.
And that is CTV News Week in Review. I'm Jared McCulloch. Have a great weekend.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.